All right, good afternoon, class. This is your professor, Dr. Jace, and we are going to make it a little quick today. I do need to get caught up on some grading, and hopefully that's not something I'm going to be saying to you guys every week. Hopefully we are going to get a bulk share of that done this afternoon, but that will require a few things to go my way. But in the meantime, what I did want to do, we are talking about such subjects as ethics in this module for this week. And so one thing that I wanted to do very quickly, actually before I get into the subject matter of the week, let me make sure that I address concerns that have come up. It appears I only have one such concern that's been brought to my attention that the whole class needs to be aware of, and that was related to the Greer chapters in your assigned readings for this week. The original PDF has Greer chapters 1 and 5, even though you are assigned Greer chapters 1 and 4 to read this week. So I apologize for that. I have scanned the Greer chapter 4 and it is now available in the module. You do not have to read chapter 5 right now. You're welcome to if you want to, but you don't have to do that. I believe that is the only thing that's been brought to my attention this week. So yeah, definitely save chapter 5, read chapter 4, try to get through that, and try to get caught up in the course in whatever other ways you may be behind. So again, what we're dealing with this week is foundational principles, ethics, and values of the LIS professions. And so what I want to talk about very quickly, for those of you who are not aware, one of the really, I would say, exploding topics of the past couple years in librarianship has been related to hate speech and hate groups and things of that nature. And that was originally going to be my dissertation topic, but I was not able to make it work at the time. And I think it was undervalued as a topic at the time as I started my PhD program in 2011. However, we have seen a resurgence in the need to actually discuss these things in the LIS field. Now, what I'm going to say about that is that there appears to be a lot of misinformation related to hate speech and that sort of thing in the and specifically what the First Amendment does and does not protect. Now, I'm certainly not a lawyer. I did take a First Amendment law class during my PhD studies at the University of South Carolina that was taught by Jay Bender, and Jay Bender is a well-known media lawyer in the state of South Carolina, or he just retired. But having said this, so I do have not a lawyer's understanding, but a pretty good understanding of what types of speech are and are not protected by the First Amendment. Really, the exemptions to the First Amendment tend to be things that are in case law deemed to be of such low value that they don't merit First Amendment protections. And so for one example of that, the Chaplinsky case, that was the case that brought this precedent to make fighting words no longer protected speech, or I should say to add an exemption for fighting words so that fighting words are not considered protected speech. And fighting words would, I don't know the actual definition off the top of my head, but fighting words would be words that are likely to cause a physical conflict by their mere utterance. That is one layperson's definition of fighting words. There is a legal definition of fighting words, so if you Google legal definition of fighting words, that should come up. Anyway, getting beyond that, one thing that I see a lot of librarians saying in social media that is not true is that I've seen quite a few librarians say that hate speech is not protected speech, and it actually is. In order for speech to not be protected, I believe that there has to be case law that creates an exemption. So there is an exemption to First Amendment protections for things like fighting words, for obscenity, for slander and libel. Those are forms of speech that are not protected. And hate speech, I've heard someone make the argument that hate speech is fighting words, but again, fighting words have to be something that would be likely to result in a physical altercation or some sort of physical violence or conflict due to their sheer utterance. And that's not necessarily the case with all fighting words. So that needs to be made a point. And part of the reason I'm bringing this up, for one thing, I'm bringing it up because I do get a little tired of seeing librarians spread the misinformation that hate speech is not protected. It is protected. Here is a quote. ALA actually does have a web page for hate speech and hate crime. That URL is www.ALA.org/advocacy/INTFREEDOM/hate. So it's from their intellectual freedom website. That's one of the subpages, is hate speech and hate crime. Now, one of the quotes, which is from Mattel versus Tam, 2017, when it comes to hate speech in the law and what the courts feel about it. This quote is, "Speech that demeans on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, disability, or any other similar ground is hateful. But the proudest boast of our free speech jurisprudence is that we protect the freedom to express the thought that we hate." So, again, hate speech is protected speech. It does not have a First Amendment exemption. Please do not go around saying that it does. And this is where we get into a larger debate. If you look at the ALA Code of Ethics, which is part of your assigned readings for this week, number 2, we uphold the principles of intellectual freedom and resist all efforts to censor library resources. Now, I want to concentrate really on we uphold the principles of intellectual freedom. Hate speech and whether or not it should be legal and whether or not it should be allowed in the public square, that is an intellectual freedom issue. So, we have a very big dilemma right now going on in the library field, and that is what types of neutrality are libraries actually engaging in. Because the issue that we have is that if you take a stance against hate speech, you are taking a stance that is not a neutral stance. So that discussion can get much, much deeper. We, especially in a 15-minute video, which I'm trying to make a little shorter anyway, I don't have time to get into why and how that discussion can get so much deeper, but I am just going to just point out that, you know, this is an ongoing issue, and it's something that you guys are welcome to Google and try to get a little more information about. If you Google libraries and hate speech or library ethics and hate speech, you will get a lot of results. And library neutrality and hate speech, that's another one. So right now, libraries are grappling with whether or not library neutrality is a thing, whether or not libraries are neutral. And there are a lot of classic arguments that the library is neutral, and there are a lot of arguments that it's not neutral. You can find these arguments all over the place, so go ahead and seek them out if you would like to on library databases and through Google. But one thing is for sure. If we are taking a stance against hate speech, then we are crossing into the non-neutral. There's no denying that, but their neutrality isn't necessarily good. And so that's the ethical dilemma that we face right now. Our library is still neutral, or have they ever been neutral even? As well as if we do consider ourselves non-neutral to things such as hate speech, have we violated our code of ethics, specifically point number 2, where we uphold the principles of intellectual freedom? So that's something to kind of wrap your head around as you are going through your readings for this week. I am just an email away, and I will be catching up on grading. And I will talk to you all very, very soon.